Okay, dear students, good evening. How are you? Today is Monday, and once again, we are going to start. And once again, I am giving you a reminder that this is a batch purely in English, not in English. But at least I will give you some support with certain words. And in a specific sentence, I will just try to give you some Hindi meaning as well, if it is required. But it is not compulsory. So please, my students, once again, I request you to make an accommodation and don't put me into the condition of a very embarrassing condition, because I can do nothing and it is not a English batch. So in spite of your persistent request, I can do nothing in this regard. Simply I will help you to pronouncing certain Hindi words and translating certain Hindi sentence whenever required. So my friends, once again, I am just returning to the question paper. But before that, I will never permit you to forget what is my scheme is. What my scheme is. And my scheme is to divide history in four major parts. That is the history of 18th century, history of colonialism, history of nationalism, and the history of post-independence era. Once again, because some of you may have read history at your own earlier, some of you may have taken classes somewhere earlier. So keeping these students in my mind, once again, I will just try to impart you. You have to discard your old method of study. Old method of study means you are moving from chapter to chapter and try to find out the solution. But this will not give you the final solution. I have developed an integrated approach, and this integrated approach will be a lot of, you can say, that is much helpful for you people, and you will enjoy a lot. Gradually, once again, my method is unfolded completely, and you people will make a, you can say, a synthesis with my method. Then you will yourself realize you will just enjoy a lot. This method is a very effective and tried method. You will never, you can say, you will never be bored with this method. I am confident. So, my student, first of all, I am just coming to the question paper and multiple choice questions as we have done earlier. So, you are follow this multiple choice question. Question number first. Which of the following treaties came into force after the Fourth Anglo-Mysore War? Choice number A, Treaty of Srirangpattam, B, Treaty of Madras, C, Treaty of Mangalore, choice number D, none of the above. So my students, be fast, be quick and try to answer my question. Maximum D, yes. Brilliant students. Brilliant students, you have selected the right choice, because in the Fourth Anglo-Mysore War, Tipu Sultan was himself eliminated while fighting on the fort of Srirangpattam. He even refused to comply with the British proposal of the subsidiary alliance, and he fought till his death. So that's why there was no scope for any treaty in this treaty in the Fourth Anglo-Mysore War. Question number 2. Which of the following was meant by the system of dual government in Bengal? Which of the following was meant by? Which of the following meant by the system of dual government in Bengal? Choice A. The company enjoyed de facto power while the Nawab of Bengal bore administrative liability. Means ki the Nawab of Bengal bore means ki just carried the administrative liabilities. Even you can use the term carried. B. The company established control over civil administration while the Nawab controlled the system of criminal justice. Choice C. The company now assumed both commercial and administrative responsibilities, and D, none of the above. Just my friends, be fast. Choice number A is the correct answer. Yes. Okay, very good performance to my expectation. Question number 3. Which of the following are associated with the tenure of Warren Hastings? Which one is you can say associated with the tenure of Warren Hastings? Point 1, establishment of Calcutta Madrasa. Point number 2, establishment of the Supreme Court in Calcutta. Point number 3, establishment of Fort William College. So my students, be fast. About Warren Hastings is this question. About Warren Hastings is this question. Yes, correct. 100% correct. You are correct. Question number 4. Which of the following causes was not responsible for the system of dual government introduced by Robert Clive in Bengal? In this question, you have to find out, it is not about the features of dual government or diarchy. This is the question about which factor was accountable behind this dual government in Bengal. We have to give focus over the factor. Choice A, the British lacked qualified officers who were familiar with Indian system. B, if the company assumed complete administrative control directly, it would face organized opposition from other Indian powers. C, the Court of Directors didn't permit the company to establish direct rule over Bengal. And D, there was a fear that English education could inculcate nationalist consciousness among Indians. So there are the 4 choices, and my friend, choice is quite obvious, and can I expect you to answer this question? Be fast. Be fast, my friends. Choice number? My student, how can you select choice number B? No, ekdam completely D. There was a fear that English education could inculcate nationalist consciousness among Indians. Very obvious choice is choice number D. There is no question of B at all. Can you imagine what is the talks of the English inculcating the English education among Indians, or you can say the education could inculcate nationalist consciousness? What is the question of nationalist consciousness? So my friends, purely the answer is choice number D. Choice number D is the correct answer. Which treaty brought an end to the Second Anglo-Maratha War? Which treaty brought to an end the Second Anglo-Maratha War? Be fast, my friends. And most of the students are doing what? Oh yes, but most of the students have chosen either D or B. Yes. Choice number B, Rajpur Ghat. That is correct answer. So my friends, of the 5 questions, many of you might have done well the 5 out of 5 questions. Some of you might have done 4 out of 5 questions. But whatever may be the result, that is commendable, and I am happy with your performance. My friends, just give me the reminder. Have you left any question for mains to be finished, Mr. Ankur? Any homework? I am forgetting a question. Have I given you some homework, and need I to impart you any model answer? My students, please give me a reminder. Which is the question? Which is the question? I am forgetting the question, so please give me the reminder. Okay, about subsidiary alliance, possibly. About subsidiary alliance, na? Yeah. How did subsidiary alliance transform British? How did subsidiary alliance transform British from a power in India to the power of India? Okay. So my students, if I have to answer this question, how did subsidiary alliance from the British from a power of India to into a power of India? Examine the statement. And actually okay, my student, actually I am just seeking pardon, although it is a very awkward situation, some of your students, but Ankur, this color will not work. This is very horrific color. We are supposed to manage it. In fact, my students, I am seeking pardon. Some member of you is having color blindness. So earlier I have chosen this blue board, and this blue board was possibly offensive to him. So considering his problem, we have changed the color of the board, but now it is offensive for me myself. So I can very well understand this position. I am just trying at my best to do my work on this board today. If you will find difficulty, then I will do something, and we just try to strike a compromise between us and that student who is suffering from this color blindness. So there would be some middle path will be searched. मतलब कोशिश करेंगे कि हमारे उनके बीच कुछ एक कोऑर्डिनेशन बने, ताकि उनको भी ज्यादा दिक्कत ना हो और हमें भी बाकी बच्चों को ऑफेंसिव ना लगे. अब नाउ देयर इज द क्वेश्चन. What is the question? Question is already there. Question is already there, and question is, how did subsidiary alliance transform British from a company, power in India, from a power in India to a power of India? It means, how did this subsidiary alliance transform the British company as a supreme power of India? So my students, first of all, you have to recognize, is the question hypothetical or argumentative? Mr. Ankur, ask from the students whether the question is hypothetical or argumentative. Be fast. Is the question hypothetical or argumentative? How did subsidiary alliance change the British company from a power in India to a power of India? Hypothetical question. Okay. So first of all, start the question, give a very, you can say, bright starting, give a very, you can say, exact starting. Well begun is half done, a well-known proverb, you know. So how to start this question? कि subsidiary alliance proved a landmark in the progress of British company British company in India. Ankur, better to transform this board from white to black in place of black to white, the earlier color. I think this could not have been offensive to any student and everybody will feel comfortable. So, subsidiary alliance proved a landmark in the progress of British company in India. It helped the company to emerge to be the supreme power in following way. Supreme power in following way. My students, you are supposed to write the answer in 150 words. So economy in language is required. You should not be, you can say, you should not be extravagant in using the language and even using the long sentences as well as the long paragraph. So better to make a short point now after that way and then give the dot or point whatever you like. Okay. The British company could create a vast military machinery at the cost of Indian states. Furthermore, Indian states could not turn against the company as the British Army was deployed in their region. So in this way, actually, how did an Indian state dare to move against the British company? Because the British regiment was already lying in its own region. मतलब कि जो कंसर्न स्टेट है उसको अपने यहाँ एक ब्रिटिश आर्मी रखनी पड़ रही है. How did it dare to fight to run against the British? The second one point is clear. And then, my friend, as the third one point we can mention, not simply its region was occupied, but also but also their foreign policy, was mortgaged. Simply region was not occupied, but also their foreign policy was mortgaged. So they cannot move against the British. My students, 3 points are clear. As the fourth point, you have to mention here. As the fourth point, you can mention the British could keep French power at bay, under control. My students, I am not writing, I am simply giving the dictation, the mouth dictation. The British could keep French power at bay or under control as British didn't allow any Indian power to employ a foreigner in its region. So as the foreigners were not allowed to be employed, so how could the French make an entry within Indian states? So that was clear. Last point. Now with the change of paragraph, up to the beginning of 19th century, through its successful policy, the British company could not simply break the power of Mysore, but also the power of Marathas, and up to 1803, the British company could regain Delhi and Agra and brought the Mughal emperor under its patronage. In this way, the British company became the supreme power of India. Now, that's all. In this way, you can answer the question. And my students, just Ankur asked my students, I am confident that many of you might have written on the same line. More or less, don't try to imitate my sentence. Your sentence should be of your own, but at least the direction should be the same. Mr. Ankur asked them, did they try the question in the same manner? Please, my students, be fast. And gradually, if some of you have not so far tried, you can try in future. No problem at all. What, Ankur? What's the response of my students? Please make me clear. Okay, you are just in the beginning phase, my students. You are in the beginning phase. Gradually, you will just acquire this expertise. Here, I am giving you certain idea about writing. Start a question. Just try to give a better starting. And always in the beginning, you should know that there should be the major central idea should be in the beginning. For example, here I have used the term the Treaty of Subsidiary Alliance proved a landmark in the success of or in the progress of the British company in India. That is the major word. Then every smaller idea or the minor idea is going to support the major idea. The British could create a big army with at the cost of the, you can say, or at the payment of the Indian states. Okay. For the standard writing, you are making the points, but for the standard writing, there should be some sort of continuation. In your writing, the second one sentence or the second one point should have some continuation with the first one. मतलब आपने जो दूसरा सेंटेंस आप शुरू कर रहे हो वो पहले सेंटेंस से थोड़ा सा कंटिन्यूएशन में होना चाहिए. जैसे देखो ना, आपको मैंने द ब्रिटिश कंपनी कुड क्रिएट अ वास्ट मिलिट्री मशीनरी एट द कॉस्ट ऑफ इंडियन स्टेट्स. फर्दर मोर इंडियन स्टेट्स, अब देखो इंडियन स्टेट्स रिपीट हुआ, नॉट टर्न अगेंस्ट द company as the British army was deployed in its region. So इस point से connectivity है और इस point से connectivity है. So that is the feature of writing. And I will on daily basis I will just impart you how to write the answer. 5 questions in prelims. Then I will try at least 1 question in mains. It is not possible for me to dictate the answer in the board on daily basis because I am having the dearth of time, you know. So because your time is limited, so that's why sometime I will give you the model answer in written form. Sometime I will just impart you in the class through, you can say, oral conversation. Sometime even I will dictate you the answer in the class. So it is not a hard and fast and rule, but I promise you I will just make you and I will give you the expertise in question writing as well, apart from the multiple choice questions. So once again I am returning to the point. In the previous point, you know, we have already done the topic like Warren Hastings. What were the reforms of Warren Hastings, you can say. So apart from the reforms of Warren Hastings, you know, actually, what was our last point? Ankur, I am forgetting. What I have left the course in the last one. Just 1 minute, my students. Just 1 minute. Earl of Minto. And after that, was there not, you know, John Soar, 4th Anglo-Mysore War, the subsidiary alliance, the British company following advantages. Lord Cornwallis, we have already done. Students are replying. Lord Cornwallis. My students, we have done diarchy. Diarchy is clear. How did Lord Clive establish diarchy? Then I have finished. How did, you can say, Warren Hastings? Warren Hastings carried 2 types of reforms. One was the, you know, land revenue reforms. That is the farming system. I have taught you. After farming system, then I have just discussed about the revenue of Lord Warren Hastings and the judicial reforms of Warren Hastings, 2 different hierarchy of courts I have mentioned about. Then even I have mentioned about the codification of laws, which Warren Hastings did with the support of some Brahmin Pandits as well as the Muslim ulemas. For example, Code of Gentoo laws, Colebrook Digest, etc., etc. Then we have moved towards Lord Cornwallis. Yes, you are right. Lord Cornwallis, here you can say, very simple type of reforms is police reforms, you know. The reforms is police reforms. Police reforms is a very simple type of reforms. What did he do? He created the modern Thana system. And this modern Thana system could have been established at every 400 square miles. Actually, the range of the Thana was the 400 square mile, and on every Thana, an officer in charge was Daroga. Daroga was officer in charge, and above Daroga, a post was created, and that was Superintendent of Police. Okay. Then you can say he is known as Father of Civil Services. Father of Civil Services. What is this Father of Civil Services? I have to make you clear. Actually, at the time of Warren Hastings, district collector was playing the dual role. He was, on the one hand, he was the head of the civil justice. On the other hand, he was the collector of revenue. So, Lord Cornwallis, basically he came to think, sometime he was going to be inspired by some liberal laws, you can say, not liberal laws, liberal ideas is very difficult there. You know, Lord Cornwallis came to think over the option कि to accumulate so much power in a single personality or a single institution or post is detrimental to the government. So better to don't try to accumulate too much power into a single one institution or single one the post of officer. So that's why Lord Cornwallis tried to make a separation of power. And here you find he introduced the so-called Cornwallis Code in 1793. On the basis of Cornwallis Code, he could separate judicial power from executive power, judicial power from executive power. मतलब उसने जो कॉर्नवालिस कोड लागू किया था उसमें जो एग्जीक्यूटिव पावर था वो एग्जीक्यूटिव पावर था कलेक्शन ऑफ रेवेन्यू एंड जुडिशियल पावर था कि ही वाज प्रिजाइडिंग ओवर द सिविल जस्टिस एज वेल एंड देयर वाज वेरी you know very interesting condition was there, very interesting situation was there in that. Suppose you can say the district collector was the head of the collection department, and collection and even the tax collection is the part of civil justice itself. So suppose if someone is having some grievances against this collection department and he is going to seek justice and he is suing an officer in a court, so the same district collector will just hear in the court to make a trial of the case. So the question arises that justice will be denied because district collector might favor the officer in his own department because the case is against the department of his officer. मतलब मैं ये कहना चाहता कि कितना इंटरेस्टिंग सिचुएशन होगा कि आखिर रेवेन्यू डिपार्टमेंट भी कहीं ना कहीं सिविल जस्टिस के अंतर्गत था। तो अगर रेवेन्यू डिपार्टमेंट में किसी को कोई ग्रीवांसेस होता तो जब मुकदमा डालता ही यूज्ड टू ब्रिंग द you can say he had to you can say just issue us you can say do the sue against the concerned officer. किसी ऑफिसर के अगेंस्ट में अगर वो मुकदमा डालता तो पता चलता कि उस मुकदमे की सुनवाई के लिए फिर वही डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर बैठा हुआ है जो अपने डिपार्टमेंट के अगेंस्ट में मुकदमा सुन रहा है. So that is as good as the denial of justice. So keeping this thing in mind, Lord Cornwallis separated the judicial power from executive, and the post of the district collector was divested of the judicial power now, and he created a separate officer, and that is district judge. So the post of district judge was created by whom? Lord Cornwallis, and district judge has to preside over the civil justice, and district collector was simply confined to the collection of tax. His salary was very handsome. It was enhanced up to 1500 per month. Apart from that, he would receive 1% commission of the total collection as the commission. So the post of the civil district collector of India became the highly paid post in the world at that time. And every Englishman was just aspiring for getting this post reserved for his own progeny, for his own son. So how much alluring and tempting this post was, you can very well imagine. So इस तरह से district collector, that's why he was known as the father of civil justice. Sorry, the father of you can say civil services, Lord Cornwallis. Then judiciary reforms. Up here I am just making you judiciary reforms. My student, here judiciary reforms, he has done the all-round reforms. In judiciary reforms you will find the two different hierarchy of courts. I am making you clear. The two different hierarchy of courts were created by Lord Cornwallis. That is civil court. Civil court. So we are just, you can say, writing the name of the civil courts, you can say in the vertical direction from below to above. So in the reverse direction you can say. Court of Munsif, court of Munsif, court of registrar, district court, सदर दीवानी अदालत, सदर दीवानी अदालत, provincial courts, I have to make a correction, just 1 minute. After district court, then 4 provincial courts, then Sadar Diwani Adalat. Provincial courts, then Sadar Diwani Adalat. But my friend, it was in India, it was the highest court of appeal. But if the amount is, if the more than 5,000 amount is involved, if any case, any, you can say judicial trial or civil trial, if amount is more than 5,000 amount is involved, so from Sadar Diwani Adalat, the case could be appealed even to, there might be appeal to the King in Council at London. King in Council at London, provided the amount should be more than 5,000 rupees. So this is civil justice. Civil justice. Then criminal justice. In criminal justice, you will not find problem because only 3 hierarchies. Here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hierarchies. The court of Munsif, it could have make a trial of the case involving 50 rupees. Court of registrar, making a trial of a case involving 200 rupees. Then district court, then the 4 provincial courts, and then Sadar Diwani Adalat, and then King in Council. Here you will find simply district court, circuit court, and then Sadar Nijamat, Sadar Nijamat Adalat. District court, circuit court, and Sadar Nijamat Adalat. I mean, district court, if there was a trial of someone and if district court is giving a death sentence to someone, so that must be approved from the circuit court. Circuit court was a moving court. It used to stay at a place after every 6 months, and it could have made a trial of the cases which was being appealed from the district court. So circuit court was a middle level court, and then at the highest court of appeal was Sadar Nijamat Adalat in criminal justice. In criminal justice, it was the highest court of appeal. In this way you can say इसमें 3 ही कोर्ट होते थे, तो इस तरह से. Apart from that, you can say Lord Cornwallis just tried to make the prevailing Muslim laws, because I have told you that at that time for Hindus there were provisions for Hindu laws for Hindus and Muslim laws for Muslims in civil justice. But in criminal justice, you find there was uniformity of laws, and uniformity was the Muslim laws were prevailing at that time. But Lord Cornwallis came to realize that prevailing Muslim laws were sometime a bit cruel. So he just tried to make these laws a bit humane. For example, you can say in criminal justice, there was a provision for nose, teeth for teeth. So actually, at that time, the punishment was awarded for taking revenge. So according to Cornwallis, there should not be the awarding of punishment for taking revenge, but rather for improving the character. So it should be more humane. First one. Second one, in nose for nose, teeth for teeth, that is another thing. If someone was being assassinated or killed, so in his trial, in fact, the court was not taking into consideration what was the motive behind the murder. Rather, more consideration was given to the fact what weapons were used in this murder. मतलब ये नहीं कंसिडर किया जाता कि इनके पीछे इनका मोटिव क्या है, बल्कि इस बात पर कंसिडर करते इसमें कौन सा वेपन यूज हुआ है. इन सब को थोड़ा सा वो करेक्शन किया. सो दैट इज द पॉइंट. तो थोड़ा सा उसने लॉज को ज्यादा ह्यूमेन बनाया और टू हायरार्की ऑफ कोर्ट्स बनाए. बट माय स्टूडेंट्स, नाउ आई एम गोइंग टू डिस्कस विथ यू a very important thing, and that is his permanent settlement. What is permanent settlement? I have to make you clear. It is a bit ticklish, a bit challenging, but I will just actually I will make you, definitely make you crystal clear. Simply you people will have to give me some hint whether you are clear or not. In judicial mein, whenever you are just talking about the all reforms first, so lastly you will place here land revenue system and that is permanent settlement. Here I am making clear permanent settlement. What is this? Permanent settlement. That is a diagram. $1,000 bighas, that is the land. $200 bighas, you know कि bigha was a unit of land. 20 kathas was 1 bigha, and that is 800 bighas. That is community land. Community land. This one. Actually, I have to make you clear. In fact, to establish a viable method of land revenue system, it has been a major challenge for the British company. Right from the British company just took the power of Bengal. Earlier, Robert Clive even didn't dare to take the administration of Bengal into its own hand. Warren Hastings took the administration of Bengal into his own hand. So he is definitely, you can say, did a great job. But my students, that there was the basic problem. Problem was that even the Warren Hastings could have undergone a phase of trial and error so far as the land revenue system was concerned. Because he introduced the farming system didn't result into better agriculture. क्योंकि मैंने फार्मिंग सिस्टम में बताया था कि जो सबसे अधिक जो ऑक्शनिंग में बोली लगाते उनको कलेक्शन का राइट मिलता. तो एक्चुअली द राइट ऑफ कलेक्शन वाज गिवन टू द हाईएस्ट बीडर, and those who were just making the highest bidding, so they used to fleece out the, you can say, money from the peasants. So peasants were so deeply exploited that they used to flee from the field and they were just leaving the agriculture. So the agriculture of Bengal was going to be adversely affected. Now you can ask me the question ki if the agriculture of Bengal would be adversely affected, so why was British, then why the British were concerned about the fact that the agriculture is adversely affected? It is due to the fact actually in Bengal, most of the exportable items from Bengal, about whom the company was much concerned, so most of the exportable items were the agrarian products. So the success of the British trade in Bengal depended over the better production in agriculture. But the system of Warren Hastings almost destroyed the agriculture in Bengal. And it was at this critical juncture that Lord Cornwallis just came to, you can say, take the charge of Bengal as Governor General. So he, for the first of all, because he came in 1786, but what do you know as the permanent settlement? So he could introduce this system in 1793. But earlier than that, even he thought over a lot of options, and he was being assisted by two officers. One was John Shore, another was James Grant. So James Grant and John Shore, they were his two assistants. So he made a discussion with both the subordinate officers, and after much trial, then he finally introduced this system, what you know as the permanent settlement. So just observe this permanent settlement and try to find out what were the features. Be mentally alert. Whenever you find difficulty, you will ask me the question. Suppose this is the 1000 bighas of land. This is point A. He is a local jamindar, and this local jamindar might have existed from Mughal period or even earlier. So what was the earlier condition at that time? This local jamindar used to be a tax collector. Actually, in India, prior to the British, it was not clear who was the actual master of the land, because in land, all the contenders were making their own claim. The government was making its claim over a part of production as its sovereignty charge. The government could have made a claim over a part of production as its sovereignty charge. The local landlord was making a claim over a part of production as its hereditary rights, and peasants were obviously making a claim over the part of production as they were the actual tiller or actual cultivator or actual tenant. So my friends, so in this way, all were making the claim over the part of the production, but in Indian tradition prior to the British, it was not clear who was the master of the land. आखिर कौन है मास्टर, इसका कौन है मालिक? But through a single strike of pen in 1793, Lord Cornwallis just converted these middlemen or intermediaries as the master of the land. Through a single strike of pen, landlord became the master of the land, the master of the whole 1000 bighas of land. Now you may ask me the question, why have I divided the land in two parts, 200 bighas and 800 bighas? The 200 bighas were the personal land of the landlord, who the landlord was cultivating himself, because landlord was a खुद कास्ट as well. मतलब जो landlord होता था उसकी अपनी निजी जमीन भी होती थी, क्योंकि वो खेतीहर भी होता था. He was owning 200 bighas as the Jirat land, that was called Jirat land. And in 800 bighas, it was the tenants who were doing the cultivation. Tenants कौन है? तो peasants, उनको tenants बोलते थे. वो independent थे. लैंडलॉर्ड का काम होता था रेवेन्यू कलेक्ट किया, स्टेट को दिया, स्टेट ए पार्ट उनको कमीशन के रूप में देता था। स्टेट यूज्ड टू गिव हिम अ पार्ट एज ए कमीशन। So in this way the landlord used to take the commission, but he was not the master of the land. Lord Cornwallis converted the landlord into the master of the land. Landlord now became the master of the land. He might make a claim over the 1000 bighas of land as the master, but my students, be clear. It was 200 bighas of land was under his direct occupation, but 800 bighas of land may tenants were doing the cultivation, and till the tenants were giving the revenue, landlord could not eject them from the land. मतलब लैंडलॉर्ड उनको अपने लैंड से तब तक निष्कासित नहीं कर सकता था, तब तक उनको इजेक्ट नहीं कर सकता था जब तक वह रेवेन्यू का पेमेंट देना बंद न करे। लेकिन टेक्निकली लैंडलॉर्ड ही मास्टर था पूरे लैंड का। अब हाउ डिड लॉर्ड कॉर्नवालिस फिक्स द रेट ऑफ लैंड रेवेन्यू? Please be mentally alert. There is some formula and you people have to follow. Ankur, everything is okay? Yes. You are supposed to follow this formula. This one. In 1789-90, that is the year. That is the year when the British chose the 1780-90 year, when 89-90, that is the financial year. And what was the collection of revenue? It was nearly 2 crore 68 lakhs rupees. But my students, simply I am giving you a round figure. Suppose this year 100 rupees, Rs 100 was collected. So Rs 100 was collected. Actual collection is 2 crore 68 lakhs rupees, but I am just forgetting the amount. I am simply taking a round figure 100 rupees. So the government introduced following formula: 100 multiplied by 10 by 11. So if you are making the sum, so there is something I think 89 point something, but I am taking the round figure 90. And 100 multiplied by 1 by 11, so there might be 10 point something or 9 point something, but I am taking around figure 10. So this was decided after calculation what was the amount here from 2 crore 68 lakh rupees, what was the amount? Suppose the 90 rupees is the amount, मतलब कि उसमें आपको फार्मूला लगाना है 89-90 में जो कलेक्शन हुआ उसको हमने मान लिया कि वो 100 रुपीज है। इस फार्मूला के तहत 90 रुपीज निकला गवर्नमेंट का पार्ट और 10 रुपीज कमीशन निकला जमींदार का। वाई वॉज इट कॉल्ड परमानेंट सेटलमेंट? इसको परमानेंट सेटलमेंट क्यों कहा गया? बिकॉज वॉट एवर अमाउंट वॉज द शेयर ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट, दैट इज द 90 रुपीज, नॉट एग्जैक्टली 90 रुपीज, इट इज proportionately, here I am just giving the example. So whatever amount was collected by the government, so that was fixed forever. Government could never make a claim over the future enhancement or the future enhancement of the revenue or whatever. Every amount, this amount is completely the preserve of the landlord. The landlord. Means that the government's amount was fixed. What was collected in 1793, so that had to continue up to 1954 till Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru would abolish the Jamindari from Bengal. So till this amount would continue, and in future through extension of agriculture or through enhancement of the revenue tax, whatever amount would be added, so that would be added to the amount of landlord, not to the government. मतलब आपने समझा होगा मेरी बात को। जैसे अब गवर्नमेंट का शेयर 90 रुपीज सपोज करो निकला तो फिक्स हो गया। इन फ्यूचर में दो तरह से अमाउंट बढ़ सकता है। या तो एक नए क्षेत्र में आप एग्रीकल्चर को एक्सटेंड करिए, तो अगर आप एग्रीकल्चर को एक्सटेंड करेंगे तो उससे इनकम बढ़ेगा। या दूसरा है कि भाई टाइम टू टाइम आपने लैंड रेवेन्यू के रेट को इनहेंस किया, उसको बढ़ाया, उससे अमाउंट बढ़ेगा। दोनों ही स्थिति में वह अमाउंट लैंडलॉर्ड को जाएगा, गवर्नमेंट को नहीं जाएगा। गवर्नमेंट जो 1793 में जो उसका शेयर है वही शेयर रहेगा, उसमें कोई बदलाव नहीं। माय स्टूडेंट, दिस इज कॉल्ड परमानेंट शेयर। व्हाट अबाउट द कम्युनिटी लैंड? The community land was that this community land will remain to be under the ownership of the landlord. This community land would remain under the ownership of the landlord. So this is in community land, whatever the land, that is barren land, irrigation land, forest land, pasture land. So that was earlier, it was a commons land. The peasants the tenants were using the lands collectively for, you can say, they were taking the woods from the forest for their fuel. They were just using the pasture land for their grazing purpose for their animals. All was restricted because it belonged to the landlord now. So my students, you can ask me the question ki why was the government share was fixed? Second thing, whatever amount the government has to get, so it has get on permanent basis. For example, you can say in 1793 the amount was fixed, but here the government was having the zero tolerance. Zero tolerance in that sense, in 1793 sunset law was introduced. According to the sunset law, if on definite date, if the landlord is not reaching there to make a payment of the amount to the district collector on the due date, his whole jamindari would be confiscated and it was auctioned. And government would confiscate his whole jamindari on the basis of sunset law if on a definite date up to sunset he didn't reach there. On the other hand, tenant's neck was put into the hand of the landlord. If on due date the tenants would not make a payment of the revenue, then the landlord could seize his land. So in this way, this was going to be conditional now. Now, my students, you can ask me the question, why did government do so? Why permanent settlement? What was the purpose behind that? The government was having 4 objectives I have mentioned in your study material. The first objective, a definite amount should be collected by the government on regular basis. Matlab, a definite sum could be collected by the government on the regular basis, the first one. Second one, there should be extension of agriculture in Bengal, because if there would be the extension of agriculture in Bengal, so the sufficient amount of tradable goods would be available. Otherwise, there would be the decline in agriculture, so sufficient quantity of tradable goods or exportable goods would not be available in Bengal, and the company's mercantile interest would be hampered. If the Cornwallis believed that as for the future enhancement of revenue or for the future enhancement of the revenue, the benefit is being reaped by Jamindar himself and the government was not making any claim in the share, so Jamindar would prove the progressive landlord or progressive Jamindar, and he would be enthusiastic in making investment in agriculture. So agriculture will expand, and if agriculture will expand, even trade will expand, and trade will expand, the British company would be benefited. इस लालच में कि जमींदार एग्रीकल्चर में इन्वेस्ट करेगा, फ्यूचर जो भी मतलब इन्हेंसमेंट था वो सब जमींदार को दे दिया कंपनी ने. थर्ड, कि देयर वुड बी एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव कन्वीनियंस because it is easy to collect the revenue through hundreds of landlords instead of lakhs of peasants, and even corruption would be checked because directly the landlords would pay the amount to the district collector, so there would be no scope for leakage in the collection. And last but not the least, the landlords would emerge to be the friendly to the British company, and the landlords would just stand by the British company during the time of adversity. In this way, you can say these were the 4 objectives. If you have to observe कि the objectives were fulfilled or not, the objectives were partially fulfilled. It is true that the British company could get a definite amount on regular basis through permanent settlement, and it could have invested this amount in trade and military preparation. But it is equally true that the British company lost its future right for further enhancement of the tax. So do you know, Court of Directors were later offended at Cornwallis model, and it gave the further suggestion that in future you have not to make any permanent settlement. I will discuss with you Rayatwari and Mahalwari, then the things would be clear. So it would be, you can say, a losing business for the British company. Some students sometimes asking me the question, even you people can, कि जब ब्रिटिश को घाटा हो रहा था तो ब्रिटिश ने डील को तोड़ क्यों नहीं दिया कि नहीं भाई मैं नहीं मानूंगा, मैं एनहांस करूंगा. नो, द कंपनी कुड नॉट डू दैट. इफ कंपनी कुड हैव टेकन सच ए स्टेप, द जमींदार्स माइट हैव, you can say, might have sued against the company, and there might have been trial against the company in Privy Council, King in Council in London, and the company could have been the loser. It could have lost the case. इसलिए कंपनी ऐसा नहीं कर सकती थी. वहां किंग इन काउंसिल में उन पर मुकदमा चल जाता और कंपनी हार जाती, क्योंकि ब्रिटेन में आफ्टर ऑल एक रूल ऑफ लॉ का नौटंकी तो जरूर थी. So this was the case. Yes. Both are the same. Jamindar is the Hindi name, landlord is the English name. Harshit, both are the same. Are they asking in Hindi or English? Permanent settlement means actually British company established a model in Bengal. Okay. So British company established a model in Bengal, you know, and that is the land revenue system. In the land revenue system, you know, in fact there is the landlord. So the British company made a direct deal with the landlord, not with the peasants. Peasants were just left at the mercy of the landlords. Now suppose these are the peasants in 1,000 bighas of land. So the British company had nothing to do with the peasants. The British company made a deal with the landlord, and the British company made a formula that whatever collection was made in 1789-90, so that was made the basis. On this basis, you can say in 10 by 11 multiplied, meaning 90% part was given to the British company and 10% to the landlord. But the 90% of the British company was fixed forever, and that was called permanent settlement. मतलब 90% जो कंपनी को मिलना है, जो अमाउंट 1793 में जो फिक्स किया गया, वही अमाउंट ब्रिटिश कंपनी को रह जाएगी. और अगर फ्यूचर में एग्रीकल्चर का इन्हेंसमेंट होगा, एक्सटेंशन होगा, डेवलपमेंट होगा या रेट का इन्हेंसमेंट होगा, तो ब्रिटिश कंपनी उस पर क्लेम नहीं करेगी. वो पूरा का पूरा लैंडलॉर्ड को मिलेगा पैसा, वो रिसोर्सेस लैंडलॉर्ड के पास जाएगा. तो यू कैन आस्क मी द क्वेश्चन कि व्हाई डिड द ब्रिटिश कंपनी डिड अ रॉन्ग डील विद द लैंडलॉर्ड. इट इज फॉर द फैक्ट दैट इन द होप दैट कि लैंडलॉर्ड वुड बी इनकरेज टू मेक एन इन्वेस्टमेंट इन एग्रीकल्चर इन बंगाल. So there would be the progress in agriculture, so the sufficient amount of exportable goods would be available in Bengal. So British company would be benefited from the trade, because exportable goods, availability of exportable goods would benefit the British company, because British company was doing trade in Bengal. इस आशे में ब्रिटिश कंपनी ने ऐसा किया था, लेकिन वो रॉन्ग डील हो गया. लैंडलॉर्ड ने एग्रीकल्चर में इन्वेस्ट करने में कोई इंटरेस्ट दिखाया नहीं. कंपनी ने भी जो अमाउंट दिया वो बेसिकली इट वाज अ रॉन्ग डील कंपनी, बिकॉज इन फ्यूचर द कंपनी कुड नॉट इनहेंस द अमाउंट, तो कंपनी को भी उसमें घाटा ही हुआ. और सबसे बड़ी बात है कि लैंडलॉर्ड्स को एक फ्रेंडली तो लैंडलॉर्ड जरूर हुआ, But here the point is it is a losing business for the company, because the landlords of Bengal were basically, they were the callous towards peasants. They were persecuting the peasants. They were exploiting the peasants. So due to the friendship with the landlords, the lakhs of peasants in Bengal were alienated from the British company. मतलब चलिए लैंडलॉर्ड तो मित्र हो गए ब्रिटिश कंपनी के, लेकिन जो लैंडलॉर्ड के बिहेवियर थे उसे लाखों पीजेंट्स उनसे गुस्सा खा गए ब्रिटिश कंपनी से, और परमानेंट सेटलमेंट के बाद बंगाल में देखोगे बहुत सारे रिवोल्ट हुए. So that is a factor. Mr. Ankur, is it okay? Anjali, in British, under the British rule you are doing, better not to use the term Jagirdar, because Jagirdar was the term that was being used under Mughals. Actually, whenever you will go through the Mughal Mansabdari, Jagirdari, whenever I will teach you medieval history, then I will make you familiar. During Mughal period, you will find there was Mansabdars, that was the Mughal officers. So in lieu of salary, they were given a Jagir. Jagir means the revenue assignment. So revenue assignment was called Jagir. So Jagirdars were the government employees under Mughals. But Jamindars were the, you can say, hereditary landlords. They existed in rural areas, and they were taking a part of the production as their commission through generation to generation. And they existed even earlier than the state. Jagirdars were the government employees. Their Jagirs were given on temporary basis from time to time, and on every 3 to 4 years, the Jagirs had to be transferred from hand to hand. Jhum, no revenue on Jhum. Jhum was the tribal cultivation. There is no question of Jhum. On Jhum cultivation, there was no revenue fixation. It was prevailing in tribal region. Rahul, I have already told you, in fact, basic problem with the British was not interested in judicial reforms. British were mainly interested in land revenue reforms. But as civil justice was intrinsically or deeply associated with the revenue reforms. So without doing the judiciary, without doing the civil, without doing the bringing the reforms in civil justice, you could not bring the reforms in revenue system. So you are supposed to bring the reforms in civil justice, and if you are bringing the reforms in civil justice, then you are supposed to bring the reforms in criminal justice as well. मतलब देखो, उनका काम था सिर्फ रेवेन्यू रिफॉर्म्स चाहते थे, वो उनको जुडिशियल रिफॉर्म से ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट नहीं था, लेकिन सिविल जस्टिस रेवेन्यू से ऐसा जुड़ा हुआ था कि जब तक वो सिविल जस्टिस में रिफॉर्म्स नहीं करते तो रेवेन्यू रिफॉर्म्स वो नहीं कर सकते थे, और जब सिविल जस्टिस में रिफॉर्म्स करते तो क्रिमिनल जस्टिस में रिफॉर्म्स करना ही पड़ता था. ये बात हो जाती थी. Once again, please. I will discuss about the Priyanka. You have to wait for some time. At different place, I will deal with about the peasant unrest. Please, here, if you will ask such a question, so you will be diverted from your main topic. So I am a bit worried. You people are just asking the question out of permanent settlement, and we are just dealing with the permanent settlement. So I am not having any problem. I will move there. But आप टॉपिक से डाइवर्ट कर रहे हो और फिर आप इस टॉपिक को नहीं समझ पाओगे. सो प्लीज प्लेस द क्वेश्चन. जो मैंने आपको डायग्राम बनाया है ना, अभी हम लोग केवल मर्केंटाइल फेज लेते हैं. एंड सो फार द क्वेश्चन ऑफ पीजेंट अनरेस्ट इज कंसर्न, ट्राइबल अनरेस्ट इज कंसर्न, ऑल द टॉपिक्स विल बी डिस्कस्ड इन फ्यूचर. वो सबकी अपनी अपनी जगह बनी हुई है. आप मेरी स्कीम को समझिए प्लीज. अगर नहीं समझेंगे तो फिर वैसे में आपका फिर पूरा स्कीम खराब हो जाएगा. I have just discussed with you, Siddharth, there were the 4 benefits according to the British company. Firstly, the British company could collect a definite amount, because at the time of Warren Hastings, because there was the auctioning system, that is the farming system. So every year, actually the highest bidder used to collect the revenue. So there was the fluctuation in the collection of revenue. So as there was the fluctuation in the collection of revenue, so the British company could not make any specific budget for investing in trade. But in permanent settlement, the British company used to collect a definite amount per annum. Secondly, it might have provided administrative convenience, because it is easy to collect the revenue with the support of the landlords in place of collecting from the lakhs of peasants, and even the leakage of revenue could be checked, means ki corruption. And third one, the Jamindars could have proved very friendly towards the British company. And one important thing I have told you, the British hoped, and British were hoping at that time, if as the benefit of agriculture will go to the Jamindar, so Jamindars would prove the progressive Jamindar, and Jamindar will do investment in cultivation or agriculture. So there would be the expansion of agriculture at that time. So British company was hoping also that. लेकिन कोई ऑब्जेक्टिव ढंग से पूरा नहीं हुआ. Any further question? Okay. So my friends, so in this way, this was the permanent settlement, and whatever problem you people may find, so I will discuss this, you can say once again, no problem at all. I will once again discuss this thing. You will go through my study material as well, but if you will find any problem, I will discuss this aspect in tomorrow's also. Now my friends, up return to this. This is your, diagram. So you have done this one, and then you are just, up economic. In economic, there is not much difficult, very simple. In economic, very simple. First of all, what you know as the drain of wealth, so that started during this period. Why drain of wealth? So because there was the rise of the colonial system. Earlier, you can say the British company used to purchase the products from India. So British company was liable to pay in precious metal. For example, gold and silver. The British company was bringing precious metal from Britain. But now, the British company used to collect the revenue from Bengal, or a substantial part of revenue was invested in trade. Even money belongs to India and products belong to India. For example, you can say, suppose if you are a shopkeeper, I will just reach at your shop and I will ask you, what is the cost of a soap? मतलब साबुन की क्या कीमत है? You will tell me 100 rupees. I will just take a soap from you, and in return I will, from your own treasure or treasury, I will take 100 rupees and give you the money. What will happen? That is drain of wealth. मतलब कि पैसे भी हमारे थे और प्रोडक्ट्स भी हमारा था. They used to collect the revenue from Bengal, and a substantial part of revenue was invested in trade. And this amount was, and this you can say, this was exported to Britain. And what was the profit? So that was being distributed among the shareholders of the British company. What India got in return? So this was the origination of drain of wealth during this period. And secondly, earlier, the British used to purchase the products from artisans in Bengal. But now, after being the ruler of Bengal, the British company used to virtually plunder the products from artisans. Through agency system, it used to had the control over the artisans. The artisans, the British company, you can say, developed the control over all the raw materials in Bengal. So British company used to provide raw materials to artisans at relatively higher cost, and used to collect the finished goods at relatively lower cost. So the artisans felt pressure from above and below both. So this phenomena led to the exploitation of artisans in Bengal, and many artisans were rendered unemployed. They were, you can say, they were just they fell into the condition of starvation and death. So even later you can say, even William Bentinck came to India. So William Bentinck himself made a confession that the soil of Bengal is blessed with the bones of artisans. मतलब विलियम बेंटिक ने कहा कि जो बंगाल की मिट्टी है वह यहाँ के कारीगरों की हड्डियों से पटी पड़ी है, क्योंकि इतने सारे कारीगर का स्टारवेशन से डेथ हो गया. इकोनॉमिक फील्ड में ज्यादा कुछ नहीं है, इतना ही है. ये मैं डायग्राम को फॉलो कर रहा हूँ. व्हाट अबाउट द सोशल फील्ड? सोशल फील्ड में और भी कुछ नहीं है. सोशल फील्ड में इतना जानो कि एज द ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ द ब्रिटिश कंपनी वाज लिमिटेड, इट वाज to maximize the collection of revenue from Bengal, and a substantial part of revenue could be invested in trade and commerce. A substantial part of revenue would be invested in trade and commerce. Okay. So company's objective was limited. So in social field, it was not enthusiastic to bring any social reforms, because it very well knew the fact it was not going to benefit the British companies of social reforms. Instead, the social reforms might have offended the Indian traditional elements in Indian society, and it could have invited the wrath for the British company. The British company को लगा कि भाई सोशल रिफॉर्म से हमें फायदा क्या है, उल्टा जो इंडिया के जो ट्रेडिशनल एलिमेंट्स हैं हमसे खफा हो जाएंगे, हमसे नाराज हो जाएंगे, इसलिए बेहतर है कि सोशल रिफॉर्म से हम परहेज करें. So during this period, you find that Sati was burnt alive, but the British company didn't take any serious step even to put a check over such a, you can say, such a heinous and such a cruel social taboo like Sati system. So this was in social field. And in cultural policy, that was Orientalism. So Orientalism is quite an interesting thing, my student. I have to make you clear. So here I am making a diagram. Last में Regulating Act and Pitt's India Act, my students, I will do in the last. I will not leave it. Have confidence. Actually मेरे जो स्टाफ थे वो बीच में उसको रख दिया, रेगुलेटिंग एक्ट और पिट्स इंडिया एक्ट का. इन फ्यूचर में तुम देखोगे कि आगे जितना चार्टर एक्ट है उसको हम लास्ट में रखेंगे. वो मिस्टेकली बीच में रह गया. मैं समझ सकता हूं तुम्हारे पोजीशन को, बट हैव पेशेंस. आई विल डील विथ रेगुलेटिंग एक्ट एंड पिट्स इंडिया एक्ट एज वेल इन द लास्ट. ओके, so let me do Orientalism first. Orientalism. A specific interest in a study and exploration in Indian past and culture. Treaty of Amritsar I will discuss later. Whenever I will teach you, I will teach you Ranjit Singh, the Sikh ruler. Presently, I have just dealt with the Governor General. So it was in course of teaching you Governor General. That was Earl of Minto. So actually, I have to give you a long list of the different Governor Generals and the specific works which were done before him, the wars, the treaty, etc. So it was in the last, you can say, I have just told you ki Earl of Minto. So Treaty of Amritsar was signed in 1809 with Ranjit Singh. So I will discuss it whenever I will teach you Ranjit Singh in industrial phase. I am keeping in my mind, no problem at all. Then, Mr. Ankur. So Orientalism is what? Orientalism is a specific interest in the study and exploration of Indian past and culture. The British officers were making a study and they are just making, you can say, exploration of Indian past and culture. You might have heard the name of William Jones, Colebrook, even Warren Hastings was an Orientalist, Wilkins, Cunningham. So these were the, you can say, Max Muller. Max Muller was the German, not British. So these were Orientalists. They were having their specific interest in Indian past and culture, and they just tried to make a study and exploration of Indian past and culture. अब इसमें कितने एस्पेक्ट हैं? देखो इसमें एस्पेक्ट इतने हैं. Foundation of Asiatic Society of Bengal. Foundation of Asiatic Society of Bengal, 1784. Who? William Jones. And this Asiatic Society of Bengal was exploring so many Indian texts. So that was Asiatic Society of Bengal. Point number 2, foundation of educational institutions like Calcutta Madrasa. Calcutta Madrasa by Warren Hastings, and Sanskrit College at Banaras. Calcutta Madrasa in 1781, that was by Warren Hastings, and Sanskrit College at Banaras in 1791 by Jonathan Duncan. That was the second one aspect. Third one aspect, codification of Hindu and Muslim laws. Codification of Hindu and Muslim laws. We will come to know codification of Hindu and Muslim laws. And fourth one, foundation of Fort William College. Fort William College. My students, these are the 4 aspects I have mentioned you. I have mentioned about this Orientalism. Orientalism in exploration in Indian past and culture, that is foundation of Asiatic Society of Bengal by William Jones, which will explore Indian early, ancient text. Second one, foundation of education institutions, Calcutta Madrasa by Warren Hastings and Sanskrit College by Jonathan Duncan, and codification of Hindu and Muslim laws by Warren Hastings, under Warren Hastings. And fourth one, Fort William College under Lord Wellesley. Why? So those civil servants who were coming to India, they should be educated about Indian custom and tradition. Although this college was founded in 1801 and this was banned by Court of Directors, so the same college had to be established at London, that is known as Hailbury College. That is the precursor to Lavasna presently, at Missouri. But at least he just tried it. My students, today my time is over. मुझे लगता था कि आज मैं फिनिश कर दूंगा, लेकिन थोड़ा सा ये तो बच ही गया. और you have reminded me, that is correct, that is 17, I have to deal with Regulating Act and PITS India Act tomorrow, and this is the last one I will deal with. What is the objective, what are objectives behind that, why did this Orientalism was being promoted. So it will take nearly 20 minutes to half an hour tomorrow, and then I will start industrial phase. For that I will send you a study material today. अच्छा, इन लोगों को बुक लिस्ट भेजा है? So I will just send you a study material tomorrow in for industrial phase, because it is, you know, mercantile phase. So I will PDF I will send you tomorrow, and half an hour it will still take, and after that will be finished. But my friends, I am curious. हमने आपको बताया है कि ब्रिटिश अगर स्माइल भी किया, मुस्कुराया भी, तो उसके पीछे कोई ना कोई कॉलोनियल इंटरेस्ट है. इवन इफ ब्रिटिश टुक ए स्माइल, इट इज हैविंग सम कॉलोनियल इंटरेस्ट. तो ब्रिटिश जब इतनी सारी चीजें कर रहे थे, ओरिएंटलिज्म में हमारे पास्ट एंड कल्चर को एक्सप्लोर कर रहे थे, इट इज इन देयर इंटरेस्ट और इन आवर इंटरेस्ट. माय स्टूडेंट्स, प्लीज रिप्लाई माय क्वेश्चन. Orientalism was either in British interest or in Indian interest? Be fast, my students. In the last, I hope from you will give me the right answer. Is this Orientalism favored the British or Indians? Ankur? Oh, so sorry. Once again try. So my students, वो सुन रहे होंगे. Students, I am stopping here. I could not enlist your response. I am waiting for tomorrow, and tomorrow I will finish it. I will just send you the PDF. मेरे मन में ये रह गई साथ कि भाई, हालांकि you might have given the right answer. I am confident whether this Orientalism was either in British interest or the larger Indian interest. So today I am stopping here, my students. I will see you tomorrow. Thank you very much. I will see you.